Okay, so normally we do news you can use, but today we got a special guest.
We got a guest you could use.
A guest that you could use. You know, we love highlighting people in our community and artists. There's so much talent here in this city.
So much.
Yes.
And we are blessed to be graced by one of the gems in this Queen City's crown.
Talk about it. Come on.
My girl, Home.
What's
Welcome.
up, Home?
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
We are so happy too.
Okay, I'm reading this on your website, justcallmehome.org. I got to read this because this is amazing because I wanted to ask, how did you come up with your name? And what I'm seeing is, home isn't just a name, it's a feeling. Her R&B melodies laced with neo soul and a touch of jazz create a sonic sanctuary where you can shed your facade and simply be. Can we get a round of applause for that? That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Expound on that a little bit because it's very deep and cerebral of who you are, and I love that.
Thank you. Well, when I had originally started with a different name, that was kind of going off of my real name, which is Amber, and then it's a crystal, so Amber Stone.
Okay.
And then I was just kind of thinking about what my music embodied and why I started writing and what it was that I was trying to evoke in the songs that I was making. And it just, a lot of the inspiration comes from like getting really vulnerable about the things that I'm feeling and that I'm going through and that I've experienced, and kind of breaking it down and like having a self-therapy session with myself. And I do feel like a lot of times most people can only do that in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah.
And so then I was kind of like going back and forth between calling myself home, and then I just kind of decided like, yeah, I want you to feel like you're at home when you're listening to my music, and when I the energy that I'm giving out in the world, I want people to feel comfortable, like I'm their cousin or their sister, or
I love it.
you know, just their family member or friend up the street. So that was kind of the whole premises around it.
I love it.
Well, and I think a lot of us, not to like get too deep, but we weren't really taught like how to be emotionally vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes we find that in the art that we consume, whether that's music or books or whatever. And so to have a place where you can go to feel home and be vulnerable because the person you're listening to is being vulnerable too. It's like, well, if she could do it, I could do it too.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful.
And I also feel like music is one of the tools that a lot of people use to filter through their emotions a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to be able to contribute to that in a way that other artists that inspired me have done. So
Yeah, and it's like you speak the words that I can't quite form, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that a lot of times we can understand ourselves by the people we listen to. And so I think what you do is so important. And I found out about you from a track you did with Nello. Yeah, and so I'm curious, like, how you, because you've been on quite a few features, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you write those hooks, or like, how do you do all of that?
So with Nello specifically, he came to me with pretty much the song was done, and he was like, I just need a fire verse on the second part of the song. And our friend Saya was talking me up to him and called me over. They called me literally at like 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and they were like, hey, can you come down to the studio? And I jumped into gear. I think I sat and wrote that on the spot that day. But it was really easy to do because the theme of the song was kind of relevant to where I was at that point in my life. And so it was almost necessary for me to work through my own emotions, and writing that and then performing it throughout all the summer, and just kind of like coming to the realization that you do have to go through this sort of transformation in order to get to the next level of life. It was comforting in a way. So I don't know. I think that, I do write all the things that I sing on. I wrote it. So I guess,
great.
a roundabout way.
I love that.
That's cool.
Your creative process. I mean, well, let's see. First of all, you're a native, right? Are you a native?
Well, I was born in Decatur, Georgia, but I grew up out here.
You grew up out here. So this is home.
Yes.
Excuse the pun. Right? And then your creative process, your writing, like some of the experiences that you've had when it comes to your art or the lyrics that you create. Talk about that a little bit and how that really affects you when you're creating.
So when it comes to the creative process, it really has to be something that sparks the idea or like the feeling within me. So Mainline, for example, that was a song I just released back in September. And that was a prayer originally because I was coming out of, I was in the midst of that transitional period that I was just talking about. And I was frustrated, to say the least, with like how my life was going and where I was at. And I felt like I was trying everything to make a change for myself, and I kept hitting this wall. And I was just talking to God I talk to God like he's my best friend.
Amen.
Like just a homie on the street. Like, I'm just like, what's up? Let me know what I need to do. Why is this not working? And I was talking to my mom after I got done praying and telling her I just talked to God, and I feel so lost. I feel like he can't hear me. I feel like, I don't know, like I'm not getting anything back. And she was like, well, I think that's a good topic for a song. And that kind of made me sit down. Like, that was one of the first songs I ever sat down and wrote and thought like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit and write about this topic. You know what I mean? And I went to my little quiet space and I wrote the lyrics first, and then I called Saya. Shout out to Saya Rain.
What's up, Saya?
And I was like, hey, I have these lyrics, but I don't have any type of music to go behind it. And he invited me over, and we just got to work and started making something. So I would say it takes the inspiration of a moment to make me sit and think like, well, why am I feeling this way about this? And then that's what causes me to dive deeper into what it is, and that's what makes me want to create the song.
You're in touch with your emotions. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
When it comes through your art, yeah.
Yeah, and being so vulnerable, like it's hard, right? Being vulnerable, but to be vulnerable in front of a bunch of people, like how do you do that on stage, genuinely? I feel like that would be so intimidating.
It definitely was in the beginning. I used to get really bad stage fright. Like my knees used to buckle sometimes. But I think once I started doing it a few times and people would come up to me after the show and say like, wow, that song, like Mainline or Dear Diary or whatever, I have another one called Growing Pains, like that touched me. And I really resonated with it. And they'll recite the lyrics that I sang back. And I'm a small artist, so I don't expect people to pick up on my songs right when they see me perform the first time. So when I started seeing people really resonate, it reiterated to me that I'm not alone in how I feel. And that comforted me in knowing that in the spaces I'm in and that I'm trying to create, we are all kind of going through this together. And that makes it feel safer to me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Being on stage is your superpower, I would imagine, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you probably, because you'll see this video, you'll see, you're very soft-spoken, but I imagine that being on stage, there's this force field around you.
It does feel like I brightened up a lot. I just feel
at home.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so with that said, you have a show that is happening. This is your first show at this establishment, correct?
This is my first solo show at Dazzle.
Solo show, yes. Talk about that and how exciting this must be for you.
So, growing up here, it's just really funny because when I started college, I was at Metro Denver. I actually went to 3 colleges, but that's a different story. But I was at Metro Denver, and I was in a jazz band. And one of the first venues that I played at my school jazz band with was Dazzle Denver.
Nice.
Back when it was on...
like 9th grade?
Yeah.
Before they moved.
Yeah. And I remember being so nervous at that performance because it was my first college debut as a singer, and nobody had really seen what I could do. And, people are sizing you up when you get to situations like that. And back then it used to make me nervous. But I got on that stage and I was just like, we sang Lady Marmalade, or maybe Marmalade. And I just remember completely being immersed in the moment and loving everything about it. And so it's really cool to come to this new stage where it's like my first solo performance at that venue again. And it's kind of the same thing of people don't really know what to expect because usually they're seeing me be a part of other people's shows and kind of jump into other people's visions. And so I'm really excited to debut that in that same space. It's almost the word's escaping me, but it's divinely connected.
Yeah, it's like very full circle
Yeah,
moment. That's
yeah.
so cool. So when is the show? How can we catch it?
March 14th.
Okay.
It's going to be at 9:30 p.m. And if you want more information, you can check out my website at justcallmehome.org or my Instagram at justcallmehome.
Okay.
All one word.
Wow, that's beautiful. I can't wait to see or hear. And hopefully you come back and talk to us about the show and how it was and all of that. This is your home now, right?
Oh, yeah. Love to.
We would love to have you here. And also, we want to play a song from you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can you introduce this song and tell us about this? What's the topic of this and how did this come about?
So this song is called All My Love, and it is a duet with one of my best friends, Vittorio. And this was another one that came about. A lot of times I get asked, like, right on the spot day of, hey, I need you to come in and write something. And this is a song about love, basically, from both sides of it. You know, speaking from a masculine and feminine point of view, not saying that's the only form of love.
Mm-hmm.
But just talking about, like, how both sides feel about the situation and how they're going through it and having to walk away from somebody that you do really care about. But at the end of the day, the situation, the issues just can't be fixed. It's bigger than the love, I guess, you share for one another. But realizing that you can walk away and still have respect for one another and just, it's okay to grow apart. So, yeah, it's called All My Love. It just came out. If you like it, definitely go check it out.
Nice. Home, thank you for coming by. Sugar Ray Lamali, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful show at Dazzle. And thank you for showing your artistry and being vulnerable with our listeners today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's 104.7 The Drop. Check out this song.